Hello everyone. So in this video, I thought I'd share some thoughts around a challenge that I have known a few clients to experience over the last few years. And that's how to tell your spouse about some inherited wealth. Now in theory, this should be really straightforward, but in reality, it can be really quite difficult for people to approach. So worries about things like, how will my partner react? Will it change us as a couple? And will your partner have a different view to how the wealth should be used than you? All of that is completely legitimate concerns. I think that in some ways talking about money could be one of the last taboo subjects, especially for us Brits. So I'd like to share with you 3 things to think about if you find yourself in this situation. So number 1 is to not overthink it. So there was a survey of UK couples recently, and almost 50% admitted that they would not tell their partner or spouse about an inheritance. Now, personally, if you want your relationship to last, I'd highly recommend not being in this group. It's far better to just get on and have the conversation. I mean, above all else, remember that wealth should be an enabler. It shouldn't be a burden or something that's awkward or difficult to talk about. It should be something that enables you to do whatever it is that you want to do as a couple. So essentially, that conversation is going to get more and more difficult the longer you leave it. So you're better off just bite the bullet. So it's important to think at this point about how you position this wealth. So if you've got even a vague idea in your own mind as to what the wealth should do, that's probably going to be helpful. But of course, you can narrow that down between the two of you. But think about things like, for example, is this money for your benefit? Or are you simply the custodian of it for future generations? Could it be used to help fund your lifestyle, or do you deliberately want it as a sort of store of value that is not going to affect your day-to-day living? It would be sort of in the background, if you like. So getting this high-level detail right will really help you to articulate and explain your thoughts to your spouse, and hopefully get you both on the same page. So the second point is, if you're not married, don't be too afraid of a prenup. So a prenup is short for a prenuptial agreement, and essentially this is a legal document that can be used as a guide to dividing assets on the event of a divorce. And hopefully it doesn't happen, but unfortunately it is a fact of life in some cases. Now these can be really useful documents, but they do come with a bit of a catch, which is an awkward conversation with your husband or wife to be now. You can, however, take quite a bit of comfort in the fact that one awkward conversation now can save you potentially major arguments and legal battles kind of further down the line if your marriage doesn't work out. Now, in my experience, the chat with a future spouse, as I call it, generally tends to go better than expected. Some people decide that actually a prenup is not something that they want to do, and their financial wealth forms part of the partnership of the marriage, and that's great. But at least have a think about whether that might be something you want to explore. Other people, as I say, want some form of insurance policy, or at least a known starting point should something happen further down the line. And it isn't just about stopping your spouse from sort of running off with the money. There are sometimes much more broad concerns around your own circumstances, the potential need for those funds later in life perhaps, or the funds forming part of a more comprehensive family wealth plan. In my experience, the key here is to, first of all, to seek advice from your trusted solicitor at an early stage, and most importantly, not to hide anything from your spouse. So number 3 is to make the most of your human capital. So remember that a major part of looking at wealth over multiple generations is thinking about the human capital side of the equation. So the financial capital part is usually pretty straightforward to see and to assess, but it's only a snapshot picture. So what tends to drive the wealth journey and what the wealth does and how it behaves can often be that human side of the equation. What I mean by this is the sum of the experiences, the backgrounds, the education, and the qualities and values of the people involved that will change the journey that wealth takes. And your spouse is obviously a very important part of this process. So rather than looking at your spouse as a potential risk factor in some cases, perhaps turn that on its head and think about what they can add to the human capital part of the equation. What benefit and their experience and education can that bring? In all likelihood, they will probably see the world quite differently to you. They may have had different experiences to you, and that translates into different values and different ways of viewing the world. So by bringing them into the fold, and by sharing your vision with them, actually you can achieve some really great things. So I really hope that these points that I've run through today have given you some food for thought, and can help you on your own wealth journey. So thank you very much for watching. Please do like, comment and share if you found this useful. Thank you.